All right, so today we're tackling something pretty cool, the museum. And trust me, its origin story is not what you think. It's this wild journey from a super private idea to the huge public spectacle we all know. Okay, so when I say the word museum, what pops into your head? I'm guessing it's some grand public building, long hallways, glass cases, the whole shebang, right? Well, what if I told you the whole idea started somewhere way, way smaller and way more personal, like a private room in someone's house? So to really get this, we've got to go back to the word itself, museum. It's got these classical ancient roots. And get this, originally it wasn't a building, not at all. It was more of an idea, a concept, a place dedicated to the muses, the goddesses of the arts. And it was all about a space for deep personal thought and study. Fast forward to the Renaissance, and this old idea gets a major reboot. But here's the twist. It doesn't come back to life in some grand palace hall or a public square. Nope. It's reborn in probably the most private space you can imagine, a scholar's personal study. And check out this quote from Niccolo Machiavelli back in 1513. It just perfectly nails the vibe. He's talking about his study, his scrittoio, and for him, going in there is like the sacred ritual. He literally takes off his work clothes, puts on regal and courtly garments, and steps into this private world to hang out with the great minds of history. But the key part, the real kicker, is when he says the knowledge he gets is food that is mine alone. Wow. I mean, it's a deeply, radically private thing. And this just lays out the difference so clearly, right? On one side, you've got the Renaissance studio. It's a private, cozy space, a place to get away from the world. And on the other side, our modern museum, a public place designed to engage with the world. The collection back then, it was all for the owner, just for them. Not for you, not for me, not for the public. But, a passion that big can't stay private for long. It just couldn't be contained. And pretty soon it explodes into something way, way bigger. We're talking about an ambition to collect and understand, well, not just a few books, but the entire world. You have to remember, this was the age of discovery. All this new stuff, new species, strange artifacts, was just flooding into Europe. It was a lot. And the museum became a strategy, a way to deal with it all. The goal was to create a microcosm, basically a world in a room. Think about that. It was this amazing tool to try and organize, to classify, and let's be honest, to just make sense of a universe that was suddenly feeling huge and kind of chaotic. And people had all these different names for these collections. I mean, look at this list. Theatro, because it was a spectacle. Cornucopia, like a horn of plenty. Pandakion, which means all receiver. I love that one. Each word really grabs a different piece of this collecting craze, but none of them were quite as big or all-encompassing as that original concept, the museum. Okay, so this brings us to this incredible figure, an Italian naturalist named Ulisse Aldrovandi. And when I say his ambition was huge, I mean it was just staggering. He had this project, the Pandekion Epistemonicon, which he called a universal forest of knowledge. His goal? Oh, just to create a single searchable index of everything. Everything ever written or known about anything. No big deal, right? And for a guy like Aldrovandi, the museum wasn't just the cool stuff he collected, like the animal specimens. No. His gigantic library and his super detailed manuscripts, the words on the page, were just as crucial. It's like the books and the objects were two sides of the same coin. In a way, the manuscript itself was the museum. It was the place where the real physical world and all the written knowledge about it came together. Okay, so this is where the plot thickens. These collections started out as this really private thing, right? But they very quickly started to serve a very public purpose. And that creates this really interesting tension, this push and pull between keeping things private and showing them off. So how does a quiet little sanctuary turn into a public stage? Well, it didn't happen overnight. It was this gradual process. First, it's just that quiet room for personal study. Then you start sharing what you found with other scholars in letters. But then you realize, hey, this collection I have, it can really impress some powerful people. And before you know it, that collection becomes your #1 tool for building your reputation and climbing the social ladder. And this is the really crucial takeaway right here. The early museum, it was never just about a pure, simple love of knowledge, not even close. It was created just as much for self-promotion. It was a performance of power.
Think about it. Owning all that knowledge, having all these rare objects from faraway lands, that was a direct signal of your wealth, your influence, your authority. Having a museum basically proved to the world that you were someone who mattered.
All right, so now we get to the final piece of the puzzle, the big transformation. This is the moment the doors finally actually swing open, and that private little studio becomes the public galleria that feels a lot more like what we know today.
And the key word here is galleria, or gallery. This is totally different from the closed-off, static studio. A galleria was designed for movement. It was a long hall that people would actually walk through. So the word itself suggests a flow of visitors, a more open display. It's a massive change in thinking, really, from a private hoard to a public showcase.
And you can really see the whole journey laid out here. We start way back around 1513 with Machiavelli and his super private world. Flash forward to the mid-1500s, and Aldrovandi's collection is kind of semi-public. It's open, but only to other scholars. Then the more open Galleria starts popping up in palaces. And all of this, it's all building to one specific year, 1683. That's the year the Ashmolean Museum opens at Oxford University. This is it. This is the big one, the landmark moment this whole story has been leading to, 1683, the year the first major museum in Europe officially declares we are fully public. For the very first time, the doors are thrown open for everyone. But making knowledge public for everyone? Yeah, that didn't go over smoothly with, well, everyone. You have to listen to this quote from a German traveler who visited Oxford in 1710, just a few decades after the Ashmolean opened. He is just horrified. I mean, appalled to see peasants and women folk in a place of learning. He complains they gaze at the library as a cow might gaze at a new gate. Wow. That just perfectly captures the snobbery, that elite panic about what happens when you make knowledge accessible to all. And that really brings us right up to today, doesn't it? The museum started as this private elite project to sort of organize and control the world. But now the doors are wide open to all of us. So I guess the big question I want to leave you with is, now what? In our world, where information is literally everywhere, at our fingertips, what's the purpose of the museum?